Hey ladies, before I start this video, just in case you haven't seen it in a recent video, I'm doing a free series for single successful women. Click the link below if you want to watch that and get access to the other videos in the series. They won't be on this channel, they'll just be invitation only through the link. If you've already signed up, there's no need to do it again, but if you haven't signed up, click the link below. What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about what makes a guy fall in love, or the way men fall in love. Somebody recently asked me a question, and that question was, can getting physical with a man make him fall in love with you? The answer to that is no, not at all. You can't screw into a man what doesn't already live there, and if love doesn't live there, you can't put it there with some good physical activity. I'm trying not to get demonetized. But while a man's desire for you physically can't give him the thoughts and intentions to love, what can is when that desire leaves him susceptible to thinking about you in other ways. Meaning his unsatisfied and unrealized goals of being inside of you can cause him to fall in love if he overthinks about you because of that unmet desire. The biggest, baddest weapon a woman might have to getting a guy to take her serious is his anticipation for that event. Not because that in and of itself is important, because it's really not. It doesn't do a whole lot for a woman to be with a guy, even if he's thought about being with her physically for a long time. What gives her an advantage and what gives any woman the chance that a guy is going to fall in love with her is that his mind wanders away from sex into other areas. If he starts to begin thinking about the other things that a woman offers on accident, if his mind strays away from his ultimate goal of being physical and it strays into her thought process or the things she says or the funny joke she told the other day, or wondering what she thinks about his favorite movie and his favorite things, or what she thinks about politics or her favorite TV show and her favorite things. When a guy starts to find himself intrigued by everything else that makes her who she is, then he starts to fall in love. That can all be sparked with the daydreams of sexual activity, but it cannot be caused by great sexual activity. There are a great many men who have had a wonderful time with a woman, the best time with a woman, and have never really thought of her outside of that realm of fantasy ever again, who have only used that woman for that particular thing. Guys might brag about how amazing a woman is in bed, but that doesn't mean he wants to talk to her, hear her thoughts, comfort her, make sure she feels okay, make sure she feels cared for or loved, be a part of her life, help her, assist her any way, support her, or anything like that. Sex in and of itself can't give him that. But again, overthinking about you on his route to sex can be of great benefit. If you slow yourself down enough to let that unmet desire, that unfulfilled need, that unfulfilled fantasy of his go, it may be accompanied by other thoughts, other imaginative scenarios that build your case for him as a suitable lover. The anticipation alone of being with you can cause him to start thinking about other things that makes you the object of his affection, which often knows no bounds. If that happens, the thoughts of you will seduce him slowly enough to feed the other needs that he hadn't realized he had, and all the other desires that may have taken a back seat to his lust. Guy might not have realized immediately that he wants a friend, that he wants a support system, that he wants a teammate. But in his mind, after thinking about you physically, if he can't stop himself from thinking about you in other ways, if he can't stop himself from wondering about how you are, or how you feel, or what you think, or what you might say in a particular situation, if he can't stop himself from imagining himself in relationship scenarios with you, in couple scenarios, in non-sexual environments with you, that's when he starts to fall in love. That's when he starts to actually care for you and change his intentions from physical conquest to relationship, if he has it at all to give. The men who actually see values in women outside of the bedroom, the men who actually think women have a purpose to serve in their life, are often unable to stop their daydreams at "I just want to hit it." And that's the difference. If a man can compartmentalize what a woman's purpose is in his life, he won't do this. But a man who hasn't compartmentalized, a man who has really gone aimlessly into his daydreams and into the depths of his mind, who hasn't put you in any boxes, will often think about you so much and so long that he's lost track of the sexual aspect of it and he's picked up more of the friendship fantasies. If it helps, think about the daydreams and fantasies and images in your mind that you have when you like a guy. It doesn't just stop in the bedroom. You're imagining car rides and arguments and hand holding. You're imagining vacations with each other and day to day scenarios. You're imagining going through issues together and supporting each other. You've built a whole world. Almost like an author builds a world around his characters, you've built a whole fantasy world around the idea of you two in a relationship. While guys process things a little bit differently, it's still about the same. It's just the shit that he likes to do. He might imagine taking you to a game or hanging out with you at a bar or showing you off to his friends or just staying in on a Saturday and being with you. Obviously there's sex there. That image is going to be there, but also after the sex, he might think about the conversation you have with each other. He'd imagine your response to his questions, to his answers. He'd imagine your response to certain situations because just like women have to imagine and visualize and see themselves with the guy, men have to do the same. And it can't just stop at a sexual daydream or a sexual memory. A lot of guys have a highlight reel of all the greatest, finest, most beautiful, best at sex women they've ever been with. That highlight reel doesn't include what those women said afterward, the great conversations they had before, the clever thing that she thought of that one time. Like, that's just not a thing that these men are daydreaming about who don't find value in women outside of sex. If you want to be the object of a man's affection, if you want him to actually think about you, not just your body, he's going to have to see you as a human being, even in non-sexual ways. And he's going to have to want that as well. He's going to have to crave that as well. You're imagining walking around the mall with him, licking ice cream, holding hands. You've probably imagined some guy looking at you funny and him protecting you. You've created this whole environment, this whole visualized world. Guys do the same thing. It's just the shit that they want instead of the shit that you want instead. A man's idea of what a man is supposed to be and do is generally what makes up his fantasy. So a man who has a provisional and a protective instinct is going to think about providing for you, protecting you, having that dream house with you. All of those boxes that he wants to check off, he wants to check those off with you. He wants to drive the nice car, but you're in the passenger seat in his daydream. He wants to buy the nice house for his family, but you're the woman who has his kids. If he gets deep enough into his dreams, you're just the image of the woman that's there. The situations, the conversations, the families, the holidays, all of those things, if that's what he values, you're the image that he places there. Just like he's the image that you place in all of your fantasies around the things that you value and your ideas of a relationship. So again, no, a man can't just fall in love with you because you're good at being physical with him. You'll just become part of his highlight reel. He'll remember you in the past tense, but that doesn't mean he's going to be with you. If he doesn't have an intent to love a woman and he's compartmentalized her as something that you do and not someone that you love, then no matter how good you are in bed, he won't love you and he won't start to like you any more than you like him. One of the greatest things you can do is delay that physical gratification and give a guy time to spin around in his mind the other things that you possess. After he helps himself to one of the ideas of you sexually, maybe his mind wanders into something else. That time, that anticipation, is your biggest weapon against him just seeing you as a sex object. That's a big reason why a lot of people say you should hold off on that. Not to control your bodies, not to tell women what to do, not because women don't have needs, but because the way a man processes love is a little bit slower and a little bit different for many, many men. They need time to get past their sexual fantasy to move into a more logical and loving fantasy about the relationship structure that he would prefer with a woman. If he gets that gratification too soon, the daydream stops in the bedroom. To live life with a person, you don't just live in the bedroom. You need his dream to mature. You need his dream to mature into the next morning, into the next lunch date, into the next bicycle ride or the next walk or the next car ride. You need him to build up an image of you, having nothing to do with sex. You need him to get into a place to where he actually cares about what you're doing every day, where he wants to talk to you, where you're not waiting for his text messages or his calls, but he's calling you first. Or he's at least meeting you halfway and calling you every other time. Where he actually wants to hear your voice instead of just sending you a cheap-ass, lazy-ass text message. Where he thinks about you in the same way, in the same depth that you think about him. Think about the process that you take to fall in love. The daydreams, The expansion of thought that you have around one guy when you like him. The imagination it takes just to hold that energy. The time spent contemplating what could be, the potential. When men want more from a woman, that same process happens. When men don't want more from a woman, they just call at bedtime. Holding off on that allows a man to formulate more thoughts and more ideas about you besides bed stuff. If he's capable of doing that, then it will be of a great benefit to you. But if he does not have any love to give, he will move on to an easier target, which is the best thing that can happen to you. At least wait long enough to see which one he's prioritizing and if he's thought about you in different ways. Anyway, I hope that helps. Follow me at captivate24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.